Husky first is the market leader in injection molding technology with a unique capability to develop a solution for customers. IT, generally speaking, technology, is a pretty long pace item. And we need to plan ahead to be able to be ready with those new capabilities once the need is coming up, and not waiting that the need is coming up, that we start to think about what capability we're going to bring in. The situational leadership is more important than one management style. And what I'm looking at on my management style, I said I'm a transformational management style, is that when it's required, I'm very supportive. When it's required, I give autonomy, but it depends where the team is.
This is CIONET TV. My name is Hendrik Deckers. I'm here today with Jean-Christophe Witz, who is the Chief Information Officer at Husky. A very warm welcome, Jean-Christophe.
Thank you, Hendrik.
Jean-Christophe, you have a university degree from the Université de Metz in France, and where you focused on engineering, on science and research and development. You started your career in 1999 at Savoie-Lorge in Metz, in France, in the automotive R&D. In your family, one of your brothers runs a 3D production company, and you're involved in that a bit as well, that even got an Oscar. So that's wonderful. And in 2008, you joined the R&D here at Husky. And over time, you have created more than 20 patents in the injection molding technology.
Right.
In 2020, you got promoted to the position of Global CIO. So, Jean-Christophe, tell us a little bit more about yourself, a little bit more about your background, and why the hell did you become a CIO?
All right, thank you. So yeah, it's a great question because actually I never thought that I would become a CIO at one point. However, all started when I was a kid, and we had this unique opportunity when we were kids with my parents, that my father thought that IT technology that was coming up to the market was great to learn, and he asked us when we were 10 years old to take some lessons of IT, and specifically around programming. So we learned about MS-DOS programming and basic programming at the very early stage. And we had also the chance to get this first computer on the market, an Amstrad, at the time. And my father was pretty smart, and at the time, instead of buying us these nice games that people are playing with right now, so he asked us to program our games with a Visual Basic book, and we started to program at that stage, and it's where everything started. My passion around IT technology, but as well my passion around programming, automation, and I learned around those marvelous technology that I'm dealing right now today.
Yeah, but still, the IT and being CIO came later in your career. You
Correct.
started more in R&D, production. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so my passion, I have two passions, right? So one is obviously the technology, generally speaking, but also innovation. And I've been always attracted by new things and new technology out there, and understanding the deep science. And I really started in R&D at the very beginning in automotive industry. And at the time, I had the unique opportunity to work on an automatic machine to do inspection of production parts for automotive. And it's where I learned as well how to combine science to programming and technology. And at the time as well, the owners gave me the opportunity to work on my first transformation and automatize the entire shop floor using new technologies like robots at the time, but as well visual inspection, cameras, and any sort of technology to measure and to collect the data from the different machines in order to do SPCs and statistic process control.
Okay, so you're passionate about technology,
right?
About innovation, about
Correct.
creating things as well, I understand.
Right.
So tell us a little bit more before we jump into your main programs that you have been working on for the last couple of years. Tell us a little bit more about Husky, the organization that we are here. It's not a household name.
Yeah.
So tell us, what is it that Husky does?
Okay, in simple words, so Husky first is the market leader in injection molding technology with a unique capability to develop a solution for customers. And innovation and engineering is the core of Husky to bring value to the customers. And Husky is built on great people across the world, great engineers, great mind, working together cross-collaboratively amongst various countries in order to develop those solutions and those applications for customers around the globe.
Yeah. So Husky makes machines that turns plastic pallets into plastic tubes that are used for bottles and so on, right?
Right, correct.
Okay. And it's a Canadian company?
So it's a Canadian company base, but implanted everywhere in the world. So we have factories and facilities in Shanghai, in India, in Luxembourg, where we are, in States and in Canada. So we rely really on the global team in order to support Husky overall.
Okay, and I understand it's about 5,000 people globally?
So it's around 5,000 people globally in the the various including all the various production sites. And multicultural as well, as you can understand. So with this global footprint, so we have nationalities everywhere, from any countries working as a global team.
And we're here in Luxembourg today?
So today we are in Luxembourg, in the headquarters of Europe. So we are around 1,000 people, and this site, has all the different capabilities around sales, production facility, service facility, and as well, any corporate groups are working as well locally in there.
Okay, so let's start from the business side of things. Right. What are the main challenges that the organization is facing today? What are the main strategies that you and the other executives and teams are working on today?
So, generally speaking, I think overall the challenges that we are facing are a lot of the challenges that we are facing on the global market everywhere. So we see more and more challenging world with unprecedented things that are happening, like COVID, like supply chain issues, and obviously what we are working towards is to keep our competitive advantage, is making sure that we are always a step ahead of any of our competition, but as well anyhow ahead of the market in order to anticipate any capability that we need, but make sure that we can learn from the lesson and adapt to a changing world that today is more and more unpredictable, obviously.
So what does that mean? I mean, making sure that in disturbing times that we live in, very challenging times that we live in, that you have to stay competitive. Does that mean that you have to focus on cost cutting? Does that mean that you have to focus on innovation? Where's the main focus?
Well, I think, generally speaking, the focus is to grow the market. Even if we have, challenging world, we want to make sure that we can satisfy at best our customers and support the market overall. The market obviously can be challenging, but supporting the strategy from a growth perspective is critical. But as well, ensuring that we can support, the growth through making sure that our supply chain, our manufacturing are capable in order to deliver on the growth target is also a key element that we are working on. As we know, logistics is complicated right now. The lead times are increasing, as well as supply chain shortages. With the war in Ukraine and all these, things that are happening in the world are obviously creating those challenges that we have to overcome. But obviously, we are looking at, any solution to help us there to support this growth that we are seeing on the market today. Okay.
And I understand that for the last couple of years, you've been focusing here in Husky and creating the factory of the future.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so basically the Factory of the Future has been an amazing program where I've been asked by the leadership to work on. and very well supported to give me the opportunity to define what will be the next operating model for Husky. So applying the practices of innovation not only to support our customer base, but as well to support our operation and the way that we manufacture goods overall. And basically, the Factory of Future was a proof of concept that we started in 2017, where we have been given the opportunity to start from a blank page, but analyzing really the entire operating model, looking at what we could improve and what we could bring in order to enhance basically the end-to-end process, and bring with a breakthrough innovation in order to get faster to manufacture the parts, to get a higher quality, and as well to have a better cost overall. And so we've been working for 1 year and a half on this program, from 6 months of design and 1 year of implementation, standing up from scratch this entire new operating model, showing what is capable to define the North Star of the next generation operating model. So starting from defining the solution to our customers, engineering automatically, manufacturing automatically, and getting the parts out of the factory in a timely manner.
Okay, and what does that mean, a new operating model for a factory? I mean, you make machines that make plastic elements.
Right.
So what does that mean, changing the operating model of a company that makes machines?
Yeah, so what does it mean is looking at each of the steps of basically the operating model, looking at, first of all, from a high complexity that usually is built over the years, re-simplify it to the core key elements that we need to work on. The second piece, obviously, is a lot of things is based on knowledge. And knowledge is what makes a lot of processes manual, and how we can digitize and bring this knowledge into the models of our factory, and be able to redesign the flow based on automatic activities that are based on this knowledge that has been captured and flow seamlessly through the factory.
Okay, so IT, digital has become a much more important part in the factory itself.
Yes.
It's become the heart of the factory a little bit, or the nervous system?
I think that, from the proof of concept that we started, we are at the scaling phase right now, because we've been pretty successful in making it happen and demonstrating the capability. And as we scale, obviously, this is bringing all our production towards this new model. And, we are been scaling quite extensively, up to 70% of our capacity in the manufacturing space. And this obviously has changed the way that we operate. First of all, to have, with more automated operations and more data flow within the factory. We are not yet at the point where we entirely digitized everything, because it's a pretty long process to scale, at the overall company, but we are pretty advanced in the scaling activities, and we've been building this factory bottom up with all the machine, the equipment, the SCADA system that enable this digitalization of the shop floor. And at the same time, we are digitizing our business rules, engineering rules, solutioning rules, in order to connect them to the factory floor. And what really remains now is really the flow of the various elements through the end-to-end process.
And you have not only digitalized your own production capability, but also the machines that come out. They have become digital machines, and you have implemented IoT inside your production machines, right?
I think that's right. So we, I think our CEO, has been defining a strategy in order to enable also services through the solution that we are providing to our customers. So we are providing, obviously, equipment and machine, but how to make sure that we can maintain during the life cycle of this equipment, basically the steady commitment that we made initially. So maintaining the operation capabilities, maintaining the quality of the goods, and basically we stood up the same as a Factory of the Future with another leader, basically someone that drove the transformation of the service and help basically to define this new service model. that will provide to our customers this unique capability to maintain the asset along the life cycle. And on our side, from an IT perspective, so we've been working in the background through our Factory of Future around data enablement and standing up newer capabilities in terms of data architecture. And what we've done is really simply taking those elements and starting to build the digital capability in order to support this new service model based on a very complex architecture that is based on capturing the information into our customers through an edge device, bringing this information to a cloud infrastructure to be able to provide two main elements. One is a real-time alerting that can provide in real time through our contact center a call to our customers in order to tell them when the machine is down or if the issues are found out through the rules and alerting that we created through this cloud solution. But at the same time, be able to provide a report that provide this unique capability of understanding root cause of issues and be able to help our customers in order to drive a longer term efficiency through their factories as well.
Just to give us an idea, you talk about your customers are other production facilities that create bottles and so on. How many customers do you have around the world? So to give us an idea that how many customers that you service?
Around thousands of customers around the globe. We have a global footprint. We serve most of the countries around the globe, which is pretty unique for a company of that size. And basically, the cloud technology that we've been using has helped us to scale this technology pretty fast and to connect our customers around the globe. And to date, we have over 40 countries that are connected and communicate to our cloud solution in order to provide those analytics.
So let me try to picture this.
Right.
Your machines are at your thousands of clients.
Yeah.
These machines are connected to the cloud and they give you on a real-time basis data about how the machines function.
Correct.
And then you can analyze how they're doing, do preemptive maintenance. And
right.
Is that how I need to picture that?
Yeah. So as I said, so really two core components is how they're performing right now, and if there's any stoppage or if any alerts that is created, be able to call our customers. So if they call
you already know what the problem is. You should.
We called them before, before they know the problem, and that's really the beauty of that. So we get this information ahead of time, and it's a proactive call. So is an amazing technology that combine our experts, our skill set with a cloud technology that get the best of both. A lot of people are trying to make technology replacing human. Here we are augmenting our people through these technologies to go more efficient at proactively reaching out to our customers in order to enable them to be more successful in their day-to-day business.
Okay. And what are you talked about cloud, so I can imagine that you had to put in place quite a new set of technologies for that. Can you talk us a little bit through the stack that you need to develop?
Yeah, so I think the stack components is pretty large actually, because it's first for us, as a company that is, manufacturing company from an IT perspective, this type of solution are pretty complex, and it's not only just a cloud solution, based on analytics, but it's really the first stack component is really our machine is to communicate to a device that transfers this information out of our customer premise. So that's the number one stack technology that has to be obviously secured, well defined, but as well need to be able to communicate with all the different machine generation, which is pretty complex because our machines were not meant initially to do that. So we had really to connect this element. That is a pretty unique component to connect those equipments. The second piece is really absorb the data and bring them in the data lake in order to be treated real time, because obviously we need to have real time alerts that provide this information to our contact centers. So we have, altogether 6 contact centers around the globe that monitor consistently those equipments around the globe and be able to call our customers based on the alerts that are foreseen. And at the same time, provide this advanced analytics in order to look at, root cause analysis around what are the failure modes to provide a regular report to our customers in order to enhance those capabilities moving forward. And that requires obviously web applications because we need to also be able to have, this information feedback to our contact centers, but as well our customers providing the information about what's happening on the shop floor, because we don't see everything, material shortages or any other issues that the plant is seeing, and at the same time, complex analytics in order to provide basically this information, in an aggregate manner. That would make sense to the people that will look at that.
Okay. And you talk about advanced analytics. Do I also need to understand that there's artificial intelligence there, that you have models that learn more than humans could think about?
So we don't have, it depends, a lot of people have different ways to speak about artificial intelligence. So I think right now we have a lot of things that are rule-based. We have, I would say, the key core foundation to do, the real true artificial intelligence that will provide, by itself, some root causes and so on, but we have a certain intelligence to provide this analytics in a standard fashion to help to define those root causes. But we don't have yet, I would say, the true artificial intelligence latest generation at that stage, but it's something that we are looking forward to implement in the near future.
Okay. So Jean-Christophe, you have created the factory of the future. You have created a completely new way of servicing your thousands of clients. And you have, as I understand it, also reorganized the operating model of your IT department.
Right.
What was the purpose of reorganizing your IT department?
I think that, when we are looking at, evolving technology, evolving business needs, I think we need always to ask ourselves, are we set up for success the way that we are organized? And when I started my role, I've been, very well supported by, mentors to help me to, understand really what are the business core needs and components that will be successful, that we need to bring proactively, but as well, what are the various operating models that we were missing at the time, basically in order to get to the next level. And really, it starts with what are the business needs, and in the world as we see it today, first of all, we need to be able to provide, value in a timely manner. The world is changing faster, from the past where we may add much longer and larger programs, the ERP tips type, where we had 2-3 years of deliveries. It appears that the business requires, more pace in the delivery and more agility overall. Yeah. And I think, determining already what how the context is evolving and ensuring that we always meet the business targets made us realize that we needed to adapt our operating model, but as well the scope of IT has crept.
Okay.
Right. So when maybe a couple of years ago we were not talking about GDPR, we were not talking as much about cybersecurity, we were not talking about that much business transformation, so to speak. Yep. So when we're thinking about the way that we were operating before, we were looking more at the project base. We transform one time, and then we think about the next big wave, and we transform again. Right now, when we're thinking about any transformation that we are doing and bringing this new capability that are digital capabilities, we see that we need to maintain them consistently. So if we're thinking about e-commerce, if we're thinking about web, it's not a one-off. Yep. So you need to maintain, keep your competitive advantage and always evolve. However, the effort that you put on these various capabilities need to evolve depending on the business context. And it's where we're talking about the agility. So what we thought about is that in order to bring these new capabilities and to maintain consistently this competitive advantage, we thought that reorganizing our team through more product delivery, serving the go-to-market, serving the operational side, but as well serving the service team is going to be critical in order to maintain those capabilities consistently. Yep. Where they need to be based on the business needs. And that's where we thought that we had to reorganize. And then thinking about our skill set It's been as well, critical to review a little bit, from on-prem to cloud, to security, to cybersecurity, to data, to advanced analytics and data governance. Thinking about all this problematic and creating the future state operating model towards where we are striving for.
So you're coming from a more traditional IT organization, heavily influenced by ERP and so on, to a more agile DevOps, where I can imagine you use the SAFe framework and so on to support the business in their changing business needs as well.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. How do you do that? So I understand your team is 140, 150 plus externals, 200 people in the team. Yep. So how do you change a 200 people team to start thinking in a more agile way? Yep. I mean, you can put people in new teams, but the people themselves also need to change a bit, no?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is what I love in transformation, and really my passion around, seeing teams evolving, setting up first what's the end goal, and what we've done just concretely is working with the leadership to work together to establish what's our future state as a team. And I think it's very critical to engage, the leaders and the people around this goal, because it has to be a common goal and not my goal, but a common goal that align to the business needs. It's also critical to have the alignment of the leadership team and ensuring that our CEO and the leadership team is aligned as well towards this end state and what we expect from the team. And that really this expectation around two major elements is, first of all, delivering capabilities and services, as we do today, but as well, adapt and act to change business needs and be able to provide breakthrough capabilities in order to get to the next level, and not being, at the very far end and waiting that the things happen to act, but come more proactively. We know that IT, generally speaking, technology, is a pretty long pace item, and we need to plan ahead to be able to be ready with those new capabilities once the need is coming up, and not waiting that the need is coming up that we start to think about what capability we're going to bring in. So really bringing this ideal state. So then I think the second piece is as well also changing the culture. Because when we're thinking about the culture maybe that we had, we needed to reinforce the message to the teams of what are the critical elements of the culture that are required to go to this journey. And this is going to be a journey for us to transform from the end state to the current state, and bringing customer focus, empowerment and transparency to the team, but as well, thinking about cross-functional collaboration are key cultural change that we want to bring. So, in the past, we had a lot of handovers from one team to the other. Today's world requires much more cross-collaboration amongst the teams in order to get the delivered outcome. It requires much more transparency to be able to solve the problem, and it requires as well much more agility in the mindset to be able basically to change objective when it's required and when the business needs it.
Yeah, and so you're a bit a special one in the world of the CIOs, because most CIOs have spent their career in the IT department and then they become the CIO. But you spent most of your career outside. You've been in R&D, you've building new factories and so on. So, and then you came into a position as a CIO. So is that an advantage or a disadvantage that first you were in the business and now you're in IT?
Yeah, so I think I see that both way. So for sure, from a knowledge perspective, when you enter in the world of IT, it's in English you would say you drink from the fire hose, because it's so large, so complex, so many things to absorb, to learn about, which is quite a challenge. However, when you come with fresh eye, obviously, and you have the ability to learn and to think, as well cross-functional and at the functional level, it's also an advantage to maybe not be caught by the past, by things that you couldn't change before, and rethink it, through a new lens, and not be dragged by all the legacy that you've been seeing over the past years. Because I think a lot of things that I've seen during this experience is great opportunities, but also a big baggage in IT, because technology is very complex. It's very challenging to get everyone across the organization understanding the role of IT, the complexity, and for me, I think both. It's been initially a disadvantage in a way that I didn't have all the terms, all the understanding, but obviously I did put the effort to learn quick. And the other piece is obviously, I had the free mind to be able to think different as well.
And what was your biggest surprise in as a new CIO? There's something that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I think it may be obvious for all the CIOs that are working there, but the span of knowledge, the span of the understanding that needs to be in this team is huge, because I think it's one of the only team within an organization, when we're speaking about a team that support at the same time new product and new features that we're going to sell, but at this, understanding also how we're going to digitize our business processes. We need to understand each and the single piece of all the elements of the system and the capability, and on top, all the supporting infrastructure, and then have the ability to be able to change those and make them evolve, which pretty large, and obviously from an impact point of view, pretty challenging, because whatever you touch here may impact that. So I think the biggest surprise was this magnitude of knowledge that we had to maintain in the team, and the large scope of the team that has evolved as well, because I think we were not touching everything at the time, but it's pretty unique, I feel.
Okay, so you're happy that you made the switch then?
I love it.
Very good. One more question on IT is, we recently did a big conference on the future of ERP. So where are you in your ERP transformation here? Is that a topic that we could address as well?
Well, yeah, I think, generally speaking, it's true that, when we're thinking about ERPs, generally speaking, which is, where a subset where everything was in, right? So obviously today, with the current technology, we have to think different, because this monolithic system, very complex,
that's from the past,
unflexible, are not manageable, and they can be a risk to the business not able to switch to different operating model because of the slowness to adapt the business processes that are fully integrated in those ERPs. And flexibility today we see is critical. Obviously, we're not going to change operating model every day, but we need to be able to adapt, to add capabilities as need be. And when we're thinking about those systems, obviously, the key core question is, is it, ERPs, is it best of breeds? Is it a combination of all? Because there's a switch. We cannot go from best of breed to ERPs. So what we are looking at, obviously, is to get the highest value right away is ensuring that we have a good strategy around integration, understand what are the data model around, and ensuring that we complement our ERPs with newer technologies and capabilities that can be rapidly scaled, can be also a little bit autonomous without creating a very large disruption in our core ERP. But we see today more and more, I think, a delineation between the data repository, between the functional capabilities of ERP and the additional element that will be complementing those ERP moving forward.
But you have already started on, let's
Yeah.
say, modernizing
Yeah.
ERP
Yeah.
and seeing, because the questions are, what are we going to use for CRM, for
Right.
procurement?
Yeah, yeah.
And so ERP in many organizations becomes the core module.
Yeah.
And then we have different modules around for
Correct.
HR and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So the strategy is already there.
So we studied this strategy. So when I started, within the role, I started to create this role of, enterprise architecture and the data, around data governance, because I felt that, if we want to, move towards a goal, I think it's very important to have a target.
Yeah, to have a common data model and a clear
data model. So we started this journey already 4 years ago, and as we started our transformation, we created the layers that are critical and the initiatives that are critical in order basically to set foundation in order to move to this target architecture. Obviously, this target architecture would move as the business moves, but in general terms, we created these different layers around technologies that are core capability, and then functional capability that support additional needs from the business that are connected, and the way to connect those elements together. And more important is when we are thinking about process layer, because we have, I think, one of the core issues around where the processes, the flows of information in between the teams are. So we also developed a way to think about the process layer and how to communicate from teams to teams without having a mixture of process data function altogether that is very difficult to maintain.
Okay. And where are you in your, let's call it, data journey? You talked about the data lake for service.
Right.
And so I can imagine that you're working on a global data strategy. So
correct.
Where are you there, and how much work is still to be done?
So data is obviously the core of any businesses, but obviously when we're thinking about the way that companies have evolved, not always evolved in the sync by having this enterprise data model overall. We started, already, 4 years ago around, modernization of our data strategy, bringing new capabilities, new technologies, but as well new team capability in order to support the business. And it's where we started to bring some element of the governance in place. So we still have a journey because obviously we started with some key core areas as a proof of concept in order to enable the team with these new core capabilities and technology. So our factory of the future has been supported with this new modern architecture. Our service model IoT has been supported as well with this new modern data architecture. And right now we are really more at the scaling of those capabilities. And as the technology evolves, as the learnings evolve, we're also adapting this modern data architecture to which piece of business will get most benefit of, but as well how we can complement and add this functionality to our data ecosystem.
Okay.
But it's pretty large.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's talk for a moment about your vision for and strategy for cloud. Where do you want to take this company? You're on a path to 100% cloud, or is that not important, or is it multi-cloud? What's your plan there?
But I think we need to think when we're thinking about cloud. I think the first question is the strategy is not to move to the cloud. The strategy is what the benefit of moving to the cloud, what the constraints, and what we're going to bring. And when I'm looking at and stepping back to understand, okay, what we want to do with cloud and where we're going, I think it depends of various factors. One is obviously basically the technical depth and how we can maintain all the things in premise. And obviously going to the cloud is supporting and is helping. However, it's changing a little bit the business model, the funding, and eventually the cost, because it's not maybe sometimes cheaper to go to the cloud. It might be more expensive. So we need to think about what additional benefit we're going to get. Is it business continuity? Is it cybersecurity? Is it going to be scalability? So what we are choosing where we put the cloud is where it makes more sense. from a business concept rather than from a technical perspective and saying, well, we're going to move to the cloud everywhere, which is, I don't think it's the right thing. The second piece is the legislation as well is evolving a lot, right? So we have the data residency, we have GDPR, we have different vendors, we have Data Act coming in Europe. Yep. There's going to be a lot of movement still moving to the clouds, and maybe some changes will happen in the near future that will create a different perspective. So again, cloud is where it makes sense from a cyber, from capability standpoint, but I don't picture today cloud everywhere at that stage because there's, I think, a couple of capabilities that we believe still will remain for some time on-premise. Yep. So I see that more as a combination. And as well, looking at eventually more than cloud is also eventually data centers that maybe not cloud, but close by to support maybe some additional capability that we need. So we need to look at it from an overall ecosystem and thinking as well around the value that we're going to bring to the business through this lens.
Yep. We talked about that you reorganized your IT organization. Yeah. So how is it? How are the teams set up today? What are the different groups in?
So the way that we organized is I have first an office of CIO, which support me on the budget on the PMO side to help to get the full transparency around the various activities amongst the team and as well the true capabilities, and ensure as well that we have, and this team is doing a fantastic job around the management of the cost, because obviously, as a CIO, the cost pressure with all the vendors coming with additional cost and this transition to the cloud, we need to have a very, very strong team around the budget in order to ensure that we meet our commitments, but as well we're managing our vendors the way that it should. So one key core function that is really my right hand for support is really around the office of CIO. So the second piece is where really I started is around product innovation. So the product innovation is the team that support the business from stream point of view. So we somehow decomposed basically the activity based on streams. So go to market, we sell. Go to market is the stream. Yep. Operation, we produce. How we digitize, what are the different capabilities that we need to deliver is one stream. And then everything around the services as well is one stream. And in this product innovation, as well as data is a very big core component. We have also the data team within this team. And then we have agile practice and project practice all together in this team in order to be able to also transition between still some core elements that are done from a project management standpoint, infrastructure project as an example, today are done still on a project management piece, but ensuring as well that we have and we develop our practice around agility with our Scrum Masters, our product owners, and as well our delivery managers in order to be able to deliver on these product capabilities.
Yeah. So you reorganized your team, you've set it up, you've got a great CIO office. Yeah. Where do you spend most of your time today, and where do you see as fundamentally your role today?
Yeah, so I think, today where I spend most of my time, and I think, a lot of CIO will talk about it today, but there's really two elements. One is deconstructing the business right away. So, helping the team in order to bring these new capabilities that will support the business. And the second piece is the people side. Because, and we know that, I think, we see the shortages of resources around the globe, around, IT professionals. And for me, the success of a team is with people. And talent are at the core of my work, on day-to-day work, in order to attract, retain the talents, because obviously is a big competition around that, around the globe, and this is a critical element, basically, to be able to understand what are the enterprise value drivers that would attract the talents, how we can support the leaders to hire the right people, but as well to keep the talent in the organization in order to ensure that we are a successful team and deliver on those capabilities. Because obviously talents are two elements. One is be able to deliver on the capabilities, but the other piece is maintaining the business continuity, which is a very critical element. So if we don't have the right talents, if we don't have a motivated team, we cannot be a successful team.
And why would people come and work in your team?
So, the why they would come to work on our team. So, obviously, I think compare to many other organizations, I think we have a pretty large footprint of activities that are for the people that are tech savvy. I think would be interested because I'm a tech savvy. When I look at everything we do, I'm always amazed. So it's super interesting. I love it. The second thing is that we have maybe the first, but we have a great company, and I think overall we are well supported in those transformation, and we are enabled to support the business. Some others won't be enabled, by budgetary elements and so on. So I think that's another key core component. And the second piece, the third piece is really again around the team. We have an amazing team, which is global, so it's not local. So we're working, across, continents, across cultures. And it's pretty an amazing journey to work, across the world with different people and be able to deliver, amazing technologies or, supporting the business in that context. I think that's, an amazing way to think about, being, in IT at Husky. Yeah.
Where are your people based? Well, I mean,
so my people are based, around the globe. So I have team members in China, in India, in Switzerland, in Czech, in Luxembourg, in US, and in Canada for most of them. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty large.
You used to travel a lot, I can imagine, but not so much anymore. Then.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm trying to be present. At least in US, in Canada, where there's also some business support and meet my peers over there to ensure that we have and we keep communication. It's true that COVID has changed a bit the way to work, but overall, I think we did a good job. I think the interaction through images doesn't replace human touch. Having a drink and having a coffee with the people is always very important. And I feel that it's important to me to meet the people live regularly. But been traveling in the various areas of the world.
Let's talk about diversity. I mean, we work in a machine building company.
Right.
In technology, in IT. So how can you make that a diverse team, and how do you work on inclusion in such a team?
I think overall, generally speaking, when we are thinking about diversity and inclusion, I think a part of the team is diversity, and as strange as it can be, when you look at the different profile. It's important to have different profile, different experience, because everyone brings something. What is important is to bring cohesion in the team. And I feel that, if you would have always the same type of profiles, you may not be as successful as diversifying the profile and accepting, the difference of culture, because everyone has different perspective, everyone sees from his lens, and the most important is that the team sees all and be able to deliver those capabilities. So the way that we do it and when we build the team is that I think we were discussing our leaders is really to complement the team with skills and soft skills. I think it's not only about skill set, technology skills today anymore. I think is also a bit the ability to work collaboratively amongst team.
If you have Chinese and Swiss and Americans that need to work together, that's not an easy thing, right?
Well, I think, Husky is a great company where everyone has been very successful working together. And since I started at Husky, I've been amazed by the ability to work together as a team, beside our cultural differences, in the aim of working as a team and defining a goal for the team where the team will feel successful towards this goal and will get pleasure working together all along.
So you lead a team, couple of hundred people, internal, external.
Yeah.
What is your management style? How do you manage your teams, make sure that they're successful?
So I think the management style, and it's funny because we tend to put a management style or leadership style in one box. And we're saying, well, I'm like this, right? So, and I think over the course of all my career, what I recognized is that the situational leadership is more important than one management style. And what I'm looking at on management style, I said, I'm a transformational management style is that when it's required, I'm very supportive. When it's required, I give autonomy, but it depends where the team is. Because there's in transformation where when we change things, not everywhere and not everyone is at the same level of skill set, and not everyone is at the same level of comfort with this skill set. And what I feel is that, and what is really truly important, is to be able, first of all, to understand where your team sits, to understand where they are, what they need, and be able to support them the best from. And sometimes, supporting can be pretty directive.
Must be sometimes.
Sometimes, but not always. Sometimes it's giving autonomy. And it's really depending of the situation. So I wouldn't say, very often people want to have a simple answer. I would say it depends. And I think it's depend of the activity that we're working on and the context.
Let me ask the question in a different way then. Because I still want to know. So your management leadership style, if I would ask the people that work with you, how would they describe your leadership style? What would they say about you when you're not around? Okay, so I think they would say first maybe that I'm pretty demanding. I have a lot of energy, and I have I like obviously I have a lot of passion for things, and I bring a lot of energy and a lot of activities, and sometimes I'm taking quite a bit. Sometimes you're driving them crazy.
maybe, but I'm also pretty reflective on understanding where we need to set the limit. Because what I learned is that you don't want to lose your team, so you want to make sure that your team is also onboarded, and that's very important. But with my energy, my passion, obviously I drive a certain energy and pass forward that I think the team would reflect, I guess. The second piece that they would say eventually is that sometimes I'm far ahead in the thought process because obviously I try. My brain works like this, never stops. So I keep thinking, and obviously at one point I may be a bit ahead of my thought process without bringing all the condition and the information that would have made sense to the team. So knowing this issue, I'm trying also to sometimes reflect and try to bring the context, because they would say, you're I don't understand where you are because I went already 2 or 3 steps ahead of maybe a vision or a decision, whereas I may have explained what's the context, what's the intention, where we're going, and ensuring that I can get the team there.
Okay. That brings us to your personality.
Right.
And so you shared with us your MBTI profile, and you are an ENTP. Also known as the visionary or as the debater. And these are persons with extroverted, intuitive, and thinking, prospective personality traits. And these are types that tend to be bold, creative. They like to deconstruct and rebuild ideas with great mental agility, and they pursue their goals despite any resistance that they might encounter.
Right.
I know the type very well because I'm in the same group.
Yeah.
So what I like to test with you is I will give you a couple of strengths.
Right.
And you tell me, yes, I believe that, or maybe you probably will challenge it anyway. So, so an ENTP typically has a strength that they're knowledgeable, that they're quick thinkers, they're original, excellent brainstormers. I mean, that's what we like to do, right? Charismatic and energetic. So do they all fit?
I think they fit more or less on the profile.
But then the more interesting bits are the weaknesses, of course. So the
sure.
development points. So we have to watch out not to be argumentative.
Correct.
Try to win every argument for the sake of the argument.
Yep.
Sometimes, and that's what I would like to touch on, is we can be intolerant and insensitive.
Correct.
Because of your thinking component.
Right.
You talked already a lot about your team.
Right.
So how did you learn to manage teams? How did you learn to also develop your emotional side, your relationships side?
Yeah, I think, it comes with not only soft skills on who you are. Mm-hmm. And I think that, from this standpoint, all my youth, when I was young, I think, one of the gifts that I got from my parents is basically to move very often, from countries to countries or area to area. And, help me to understand, how important people are. Mm-hmm. Because, when you are in your study, you may think that basically, people are not important. But when you lose them regularly, you start to learn the hard way, how important people are. I think the second piece, that is also where I learn a lot of things that balance this energy and as well balance the other gift that I was giving by my mom at the time was really the persistence, because I'm very persistent.
Okay.
So is as well working as a team. So I've been, doing a lot of sports, collective sports, and I think that what I learned is that there's not best than working as a team and winning as a team, which is not around thinking that you can solve all the problems of the earth by yourself, but you need also to respect the individuals as part of the team and value the people for basically their thoughts, their ideas, their feelings, and make sure that when you're part of this team, you also recognize and learn about your teammates and how what drives them and what doesn't drive them.
Because one of the challenges of ENTPs is they can come up with a good idea every day.
Right.
And so they can drive their team crazy because they will try to implement a new idea and another new idea and another new idea, and then they can switch priorities just like that. So you talked about your CIO office. Right. Is that where the stability comes from and the strategy?
So and it's funny that you reflect that because Paul, which is my lead of CIO office, is the opposite of me. And we work great together, and we are very complementary because he's the person that brings this rigor and structure to the team that makes sure that, from a financial point of view, from a delivery point of view, so we manage. And as well, that helped me when we need to go further. And it's where, when I'm talking about the team, is around I'm not the CIO deciding for everyone. I'm part of the team, and the team has a various components that are required to function, and it's by complementing each other that we are the best performing team, rather than thinking that I can be everyone, right? So I think that that's great support that I have from this standpoint, but as well, the ENTP needs to listen as well.
Yeah.
And the first thing for an ENTP is before talking, start listening.
Yeah. And surround yourself with complement types, with complement people.
Complementary people
are very important.
In order to be successful, and that's the way that I'm building a team. I wouldn't like to have people like me all across the organization. I think that won't be good. But having a great team with different skill set, with different soft skills, and where they need to be, I think it's great.
Yeah. You already talked about your father and your mother, the things that you learned from them.
Yeah.
Were there other important mentors in your life, people that you looked up to, people that you learned from that you can mention?
Yeah, so I think that there's a couple of people I learned from at different stage of my life, and what is important is to learn every day. So if my mantra is continuous learning and adapting, because you never, I think, stop learning in life. I think everyone that brings addition to your reflection is a great learning, bad or wrong, but that's a great learning. One of the first mentor, because when I was young, I was much more energetic even, and maybe sometimes more stubborn. And it's where from this mentor I learned around operational excellence, which and go to maybe the next level of how with a team we can operate in a high level of standard. That was my first experience in Savolor, where I had a fantastic leader, David Biguet, that worked with me and helped me to understand who I am and helped me to go to the next level. I think other mentors as well, if I can name them, so was Wes Grove, what's from a leadership point of view, is where, because I think that what I learned, I'm very persistent, but persistent can be stubborn at one point. And I learned to balance around persistence and agility, which is also very important in order to adapt. And at one point, with a clear line of sight, understand where it's time to change versus persistence. Because persistence can bring you far, but also can bring you to the wall. So you need also to be able to switch faster in a changing world. And I learned around that. And from my CEO, John Galt, what I learned is, go beyond what is capable, what is feasible. And I think that, sometimes, when we go through problems, there's always a lot of people to tell you it's not feasible, it's not possible, we won't give up. We won't be able to make it happen. And I think that, having the right team, having the right approach, working as a team can bring us to the next level. And, it's not about, when you have the right team, a lot of things that be perceived not feasible can be feasible. And in a changing world, a lot of fears, a lot of things, are pushing people not to do anything. Whereas I think that what I learned is, let's make sure that we give all our options to make a change, to go to a better state.
Okay. Let's talk a bit more about your personal life. You've got a family, Jean-Christophe?
Yeah, I have a family. Yeah.
Kids?
Yeah, 2 kids. Yeah.
Okay. What are the values that you're passing on to your children?
I think one thing which I found very successful, generally speaking, that I think is very important for people when they grow up, is integrity, but as well honesty and persistence. I think that in our world, very often we are more now in the age where everybody changes everything all the time, and at the end you look backward and what did happen, what I've done, and you haven't been able to build something. So I think I'd like to also bring them the value that sometimes it's important to change, but it's also important to persist. So which is a core element that I feel is important for them. The other piece is creativity and learning abilities. And which I think, sometimes we have the tendency to overwhelm people with tons of stuff and, do a lot of things. But sometimes it's important to stop, to reflect. And innovation and creativity also can come with people get bored. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I'd like to get them to that stage where also, because when we are in a changing world, it's important to be, in the mindset that things can be changing and they have the ability to think a bit out of the box on how they can solve problems.
Okay, and would you say, I'm trying to understand that because it sounds interesting, would you say that sometimes children, you need to give them the opportunity to be bored, so that they can become creative? Yeah,
they become creative, and very often with my energy, when I get bored, when I start to think about, okay, how I can improve, how I can do, or reflect about certain things. And sometimes, too much things, if you are in your laptop, your computer, or your internet, just absorbing information, you may not be able to add value to this information any further. Yep. So I think that's one of the elements. And the other piece is around, people, diversity, understanding different cultures, give them the ability to be curious in people's mind and build a strong, friendship with people at work, not at work, at school. I think is a critical element that I'd like to have then also.
What do you do with your creativity and your energy outside of work? What are your personal passions?
Passions I have a lot. So I'm a geek still. So I love to create at home. So I'm doing my own automation at home. For home. I love to create, to do 3D printing. Solutions when I try to solve a problem. So I'm using either IT technology to build my own automation. So using APIs or various type of technologies that I'm learning every day and testing them at home as well. I love mechanics and design. So I'm building this 3D printing, and obviously other passion is projects. I like building up new projects like house projects or investment projects. That will be very interesting. So I love this type of things. So I'm never bored, I would say.
And how? You have this high energy. So how do you relax? When you can calm down and get to yourself?
When I do sports. When I do sports, so my release is sports. I do quite a bit of sports. So it's where through the sports I can release the energy and practicing swimming or bike or whatever regularly is I think important for high energy in order to ensure that the high energy is not transpire to the team too much neither.
In your personal life, if you had to pick one thing, and let's not say it's the birth of your children or meeting your wife, but what was outside of these days, what was the best thing that has ever happened to you in your life? So
I think the best thing, I'm gonna say it this way, for a French guy is speak English and have the chance basically to learn, and then pretty rapidly when I was 13 to go to England to train more, because this opened up
the world. The English-speaking world, at least, the world.
Yeah, so that was, I think, because it's where obviously open up the world to me. Getting to visit new countries, get in a relationship with people that are outside of the country, and get to know different cultures and be curious about that. Yeah. And that opened up a hell of capability that obviously helped me all along my life, and that I'm using every day of my life today.
And international culture and travel, is that a passion as well?
Yeah, international culture, travel, friends. So through my whole career at Husky and outside of Husky, so created also not only work relationship but friendship with people that cross my path over the years, and I'm pretty glad to have a lot of people that I know around the world and from different cultures, and that truly amazing people that I like to interact with.
Yeah. So many good things that happened to you in your life. I mean, you had amazing opportunities, and you took the opportunities to build a great life.
Yeah.
But we all have our setbacks.
Yeah.
So could you share maybe one of the bad things that happened to you in your life and how you overcome them?
Yeah, I think when you have a lot of energy and when you are obviously goal-driven. Sometimes you come to the trap of not taking any more pleasure during the phase of the activities that you're pursuing. And obviously, sometimes you have the life coming back to you to tell you, hey, you work too much, you have too much energy. Take also pleasure with your team to get things done. And it's through big projects where it was very intense. It's where you realize and you step back, you say yourself, well, I thought that it was great to go to the summit of this mountain, but now that I'm here, I'm just exhausted. So trying to take also, a great pleasure working with the teams, through these goals, and not being only, driven by the goal, I think is also very important.
So enjoy the journey and not only achieving the goals.
Yeah.
Great. So let's return a bit to your professional career.
Right.
Couple of questions there. One is, as an ENTP, you like new things. You like change.
Right.
You like to change your things yourself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're already more than 15 years that you work here at Husky.
Right.
So how does that compute?
But first is that obviously there's change and change. So all my career at Husky, I've been working in new things, new innovation, new capabilities, and I've been very lucky to have been given the opportunity to evolve all along, and that has been always new things to build, new things to create, newer capabilities to bring to life, and within Husky, I think uniquely compared to other opportunities that I had over the past before, I had really the support from the team and the leadership team to evolve through the company and make things different all the time. Which I don't think you need to be in a different company to see different line of business or activities. I think an evolution also through a great company can be a great success. And for a person that is very curious as me, I think has been always very pleased and supported to learn along the years.
So the company is big enough to do many different jobs and focuses and many different
coming
aspects.
From R&D is everything new all the time, and we had new challenges and new capabilities to stood up, and coming to IT world has been also quite a journey and a learning journey.
In your life, what is it that you fear most, and then what is it that you love most?
But in general terms, more. I think that in life, what I fear most, obviously, sustainability is I think in the world of everyone. When we're thinking about sustainability and making a sustainable world for the future, and for me is setting up the world wrong for future generation. Is what make me fear most, that we are not setting up our children's or the humanity for success for the future. And I think that's one of the biggest fear that people forget about. That life And our goal as also people today is to think about our future generation and thinking more than short term.
So we talked about what you fear most in your life is, and you're worried about sustainability of the globe and the world that we live in. What is it that you love most in your life?
Again, I would say I will come back again, people culture, diversity. That's what I love the most.
Okay. I thought you were going to say French wine.
No, I think, because if you know a lot of different people, you will learn that there's also good wine out there, not only in the French areas, but, obviously the French, is one of the best, but, there's a great and fantastic Italian, German wines or,
Luxembourg wine.
Luxembourgish wine. So, through the people, I think you learn about everything, and I think that's the biggest gift that you can have, this ability and this opportunity to meet people.
Okay. Jean-Christophe, thank you so much for all your time and your insights and sharing all your views and so on. And so I wanted to end this interview with the question that these interviews are watched by future digital leaders.
Yeah.
People that have the ambition to become CIOs of global companies. So what is the advice that you would give them? What do they need to do to become as successful as you are today?
I don't look myself as the only one, to think about from activity that I'm doing. But if I'm looking amongst all the CIOs and the trends, I think that there's core things that I think need to be critical for CIOs. Generally speaking, first is I think you need to have passion for that. And passion from two core elements. First is technology, obviously, because you are the technical expert, for a leadership group, and you need to help to provide insights and new capabilities moving forward. So you need to be curious and technical savvy in some ways, but curiosity, I think, is the most important because there's new things out there, and strongly people-oriented, and not seeing the role as hierarchical, but as an enabler for the team, and fostering cross collaboration along people and be an enabler from the team is a key element. And obviously, persistence is important in this world, for CIOs. So, as a CIO, there's always something that goes wrong. So you need to have a persistent and resilience in order to be able to manage through all the waves of cybersecurity or constraint that there is on the business, and be able basically to act with diligence and supporting your team and speed to support the business. But I think resilience and persistence is truly important in this world in order to be successful.
So, and on that note, thank you so much, Jean-Christophe. It was a pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
And, I would say let's go and have some French wine or Luxembourg wine. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay.